Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network Novel. Spy War. Don't get promoted, I'm really an undercover agent. Chen Zhan traveled to the world of film and television dramas that integrated Kite, Undercover, Infiltration, Wind Sound, Rebel, and more. Zecheng and Xu Zhongyi are both his classmates in Qingpu class, while he is the deputy captain of the 2nd Action Team of the Military Statistics Bureau and also an underground worker lurking within the Military Statistics Bureau. Emei Peak. Favored by the committee, Chen Zhan rose all the way to become the youngest military statistics Major General Webmaster. Committee, don't get promoted. If I continue to rise, I will become a bureau seat. After winning, I won't be able to explain it clearly anymore. Zheng Yaoxian. Chen Zhan is the true belief in military unification. Seat. Mount Emei, with a TM solo photo, quite romantic. With all the strength of the Military Statistics Bureau, I also want to find you. Bald Chairman. Chen Zhan, there must be an undercover agent between you, Rain Farmer, and me. You are not, and Rain Farmer is not either. Am I the real undercover agent? Chen Zhan. My seat, I am really an undercover agent. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Deputy Captain of the 2nd Operations Team of the Military Statistics Bureau. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Shansheng, Military Statistics Bureau, Operations Department. In an office, several ordinary-looking men in suits were hanging their heads, each silent like a child who had done something wrong. A bunch of trash. In front of a few people, behind the desk, a handsome young man with handsome features and a face full of anger, with a look of hatred, pointed at the few people and shouted coldly. But before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by the young man. The person ran away under your nose. Don't blame you, do you blame me? At this point, the young man patted the table and said, investigate all the interpersonal relationships of that Communist Party. Even if you dig 3 feet deep, you must find this person for me. Yes. After hearing the words of the youth, the men in suits walked out of the office in a gloomy manner, as if granted amnesty. Watching several men in suits leave, the young man behind the desk sat back in a chair with a hint of smile on his face. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Complete the mission. Help the intelligence agent escape the mountain city. Task reward. Experience plus 500. Electronic synthesized sounds rang in his ears, and the young man's eyes lit up, his mind twitched slightly. A detailed data panel suddenly appeared in his mind. Name. Chen Zhan, Stamina. 7.2, Spirit. 4.7, Note. The average physical and mental health of a healthy adult male aged 25 is 1. Ability. Shooting. Top, Max, Fighting. Top, Max, Tactical Literacy. Advanced, 6666/10,000, Reconnaissance. Advanced, 5432/10,000, Anti-Reconnaissance. Advanced, 3456/10,000, Chemistry. Advanced, 3333/10,000, Telecommunications. Advanced, 1111/10,000, Japanese. Intermediate, 345/1000, Russian. Intermediate, 423/1000, English. Intermediate, 672/1000, Psychology. Intermediate, 105/1000, Dot. Special abilities. Unforgettable, Visual Enhancement, Hearing Enhancement, Storage Space, 2M x 2M x 2M. L115A3 Sniper Rifle *1, ZB.26 Light Machine Gun *1, M1A1 Thompson Submachine Gun *1, M1 Garland Semi-Automatic Rifle *1, Kar 98K Rifle *1, Browning M1911 *1, 2 Malawian Kwacha's Grenade *17, Nongfu Spring *36. Farong King *67, Canned Beef *24. Experience. 1270. Looking at the system panel, Chen Zhi was slightly lost in thought. He is not a person from this world, but has crossed from a blue planet without gunpowder or war. Chen Zhan has been in this world for over 8 years. 8 years ago, when he first arrived, the land of China was devastated and the Japanese pirates were rampant. In this lifetime, all of Chen Zhan's relatives died at the hands of the Japanese invaders. He was also the only person in the entire village who survived. Later, he met the 8th Route Army and became a member of the anti-Japanese team. Along with it comes the essential golden finger system for crossing time. And then due to the fact that the Kuomintang targets our party everywhere, and even for the sake of interests, some senior members of the Kuomintang even carry the banner of resistance against Japan, but secretly engage in intelligence business with the Japanese army. Chen Zhan became a spy and was appointed by his superiors to infiltrate the Military Statistics Bureau, becoming a visible military intelligence agent. This ambush lasted for 8 years. From 8 years ago, Lin Zhan graduated from Qingpu Special Training Class, until now, he has only served as the deputy captain of the 2nd Action Team. This position is not considered high within the Military Statistics Bureau, but since Shancheng is the headquarters of the Military Statistics Bureau, Chen Zhan's rank is captain, which is not considered low. The reason why Chen Zhan has been lurking for 8 years and is still just a captain is mainly because his qualifications are not very deep, and he has no background or support. He was able to reach his current position entirely through his own abilities. Of course, that is only a part of his abilities that he has demonstrated in front of the senior leadership of the Kuomintang. From the perspective of the system panel alone, Chen Zhan's skills are enough to make him an ace agent among the ace cards. Calculating the time. Dark night should have already arrived in the common area, right? Putting aside his thoughts, Chen Zhan murmured to himself. Black Knight is the Communist Party he just mentioned, and also an intelligence officer from our party who infiltrated the Military Statistics Bureau. Just recently, Black Knight took the risk to pass on an intelligence message, but also exposed itself. In order to capture Black Knight, the director of the operations department, Su Baichuan, personally ordered the 1st and 2nd operations teams to jointly operate and set up a trap near Black Knight's residence. However, prior to this, Chen Zhan had already conveyed the message to Black Knight through his own online presence, and had already sent him out of the mountain city before the military statistics began their operation. That is to say, even if the Military Statistics Bureau really digs the mountain city 3 feet deep, it is impossible to find Black Knight. Similar to this, Chen Zhan has done it too many times in the past 8 years, each time he has done it seamlessly and has never been suspected. Otherwise, he would not be able to sit in the position of deputy captain of the 2nd Action Team. At this moment, Chen Zhan suddenly looked up, his eyes slightly fixed, and someone came. With enhanced hearing, he had already heard footsteps before anyone approached the office. Over the course of 8 years, Chen Zhan gained many abilities through the system, which can be roughly divided into 2 categories. One type is ordinary ability that can be improved through experience, divided into 4 levels from low to high. Beginner, Intermediate, Advanced, and Top. From beginner to intermediate level, it requires 100 points of experience, from intermediate to advanced level it is 1000, from advanced to top level it is 10,000, and from top level it is the full level of ordinary abilities. Special abilities do not have a hierarchical classification, and these abilities can often play special roles beyond the scope of ordinary people. Bang! With the sound of footsteps moving from far to near, the door to Chen Zhan's office was suddenly pushed open, and the man in a suit, who was of average build and plain appearance, went back and forth with a somewhat urgent expression. Sitting on the chair, Chen Zhan lifted his eyelids and said coldly, "There are no rules." The man in the suit was about to speak, but his expression froze. He quickly walked out of the door and tidied up his clothes before gently knocking on the office door. Come in. Chen Zhan's tone only eased a bit. The man in a suit quickly entered the door and carefully closed it. He walked outside to his desk and lowered his voice, saying, "Brother Zhan, Li Haifeng has defected." Upon hearing the man in the suit's words, Chen Zhan's eyes lit up slightly, and he nodded calmly, as if everything was within his expectations. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Li Haifeng's Rebellion. Dai Zhi can't sit still. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The man in the suit is named Yufei. He was originally a military thug, but when the team was defeated, he was hunted down by small devils all over the city. At that time, Chen Zhan had just graduated from the Qingpu class and was carrying out field tasks. Although Yufei was a member of the Kuomintang and had a significant personal style issue, there was nothing to say about his ability to fight against the Japanese. Considering that everyone was on the same front and he needed an opportunity to stand out, Chen Zhan saved him. But Yufei is really brave and schemless. As soon as he recovered from his injuries, he was caught by the little devil again. However, at the same time, 2 soldiers from our party fell into the hands of the devils. A team of the 8th Route Army robbed the little devils of their magic field, and Chen Zhan took advantage of the chaos to save Yufei. Later, Chen Zhan returned to the headquarters of the Military Statistics Bureau and found that Yufei had also become a special agent of the Bureau. He created a chance encounter, and naturally took him under his command. It can be said that in the Military Statistics Bureau where everyone is profit-oriented, Yufei is a staunch follower of Chen Zhan, showing extreme respect to him and always following Chen Zhan's lead. Although Yufei did not hold any substantial position in the second action team, Chen Zhan helped him advance to the rank of lieutenant. Watching Chen Zhan's old god present, Yufei felt a little anxious and asked with a puzzled expression. "Brother Zhan, I don't understand. Since you had anticipated that Li Haifeng would defect and asked me to monitor him with my brothers, why don't we just take action and stop this traitor?" When he said these words, Yufei's eyes turned a little red. His family had all been killed by the little devils, and his hatred towards the Japanese invaders had already reached an unbearable level. Especially for those pro-Japanese traitors, I hate them to the extreme. Chen Zhan glanced at him and shook his head, saying, "Li Haifeng has defected. Someone will be more anxious than us. He will definitely die, but now is not the time." Speaking of which, Chen Zhan paused for a moment before thinking for a moment and then said, "Li Haifeng doesn't know how to take a train or a plane. He definitely can't go far now. You can take your brothers and chase them out of the mountain city, shoot a few shots, and then retreat back." Although Yufei was full of doubts, he nodded out of trust in Chen Zhan, turned around, and walked out of the office. Watching Yufei leave, Chen Zhan smiled slightly, lit a cigarette, and walked to the window, squinting his eyes as he looked at the pedestrians coming and going on the street. After waiting for so long, the opportunity has finally arrived. As early as 8 years ago, when he had just infiltrated the Military Statistics Bureau and became a member of the Qingpu squad, he had already discovered some interesting things among his fellow students in the same class. There are some names that Chen Zhan is familiar with, such as Xu Zhongyi. For example, Zecheng. This discovery finally made Chen Zhan recognize this world. This is a world where various spy dramas blend together. Now that the anti-Japanese war has finally won, the situation in China is not clear. As a traveler, Chen Zhan naturally knows the direction of the future situation. The battle between the Kuomintang and the Communist Party is bound to start, and they will continue to lurk in the lower levels of the military statistics. His role as a hidden chess piece is limited, so Chen Zhan has already begun to lay out his plan, climbing up the upper levels of the military statistics step by step, making a sharp knife that penetrates the enemy's heart. Monitoring Li Haifeng asking Yufei to take people to pursue him is just the first step for Chen Zhan to emerge. Shancheng, Military Statistics Bureau, Office A. Has Li Haifeng defected? Dai Zhi, who was sitting behind his desk watching documents, stood up with a thud upon hearing the news, his eyes slightly widened. Bureau seat, Li Haifeng has already fled to Nanjing yesterday and defected to the Japanese puppet regime. Across from Dai Xiang, Mao Renfeng, who had the same solemn expression, said in a deep voice, it was the Japanese translator of the sweeping daily who instigated his rebellion, Gua Ziping. Upon hearing Mao Renfeng's words, Dai Xiang sneered and said, "Ha! Now that he has defected, he has died worse than he Chen Zhan and Chen Mingchu." Immediately, Dai Xiang looked at Mao Renfeng and asked, where are his parents, wife, and children? There's no trace at all. Mao Renfeng said in a deep voice, I guess the escape route has been repaired long ago. He is an old military commander from the era of Ji Lane, and his family rules should be very clear. Dai Xiang's eyelids drooped slightly, his face as heavy as water, and he murmured, this Li Haifeng is going to ruin big things. Who is Li Haifeng? This guy is not only an old military intelligence officer, but also proficient in all the telegraph codes in the intelligence agencies of the Kuomintang, known as the Code Treasure. If Ko had just surrendered today and defected to the Japanese at this time, I'm afraid many people are secretly cursing Li Haifeng for his lack of intelligence. However, Dai Xiang understood very well that the reason why Li Haifeng defected was because this old military intelligence officer had already smelled an unusual smell. During the War of Resistance against Japan, Dai Xiang used his power to collude with the Japanese invaders at the most urgent moments of the war, and made great fortune in the country. As one of the supervisors of the telecommunications department, Li Haifeng knew some of the secrets, and he also knew that Dai Xiang has always been ruthless, and only those who always keep their mouths shut will not reveal the secrets. Now that the Japanese invaders have surrendered, Dai Xiang will definitely choose to kill and silence himself in order to whitewash himself. In addition, the Japanese invaders must have provided extremely favorable conditions and treatment. Li Haifeng's defection at this time is not only to save his life, but also to seek a way out. Mao Renfeng also knew the tricks behind it and suggested, Bureau, Li Haifeng must not dare to walk from the air or by railway. I will have the operation team set up checkpoints in every city along the way. Dai Xiang squinted his eyes and shook his head, saying, since he chose to defect, he will definitely not settle in the cities along the way. Why not send someone to Nanjing to assassinate? Mao Renfeng suggested again. Dai Xiang shook his head again and said, Li Haifeng is an old member of the Military Statistics Action Team. He has seen most of the people in the team, and even if he doesn't know them, his face is familiar. Upon hearing him say this, Mao Renfeng immediately showed a gritted teeth and stomped her feet, muttering in a low voice, what do those scumbags from the rebellion department eat? Li Haifeng defected under their noses without receiving any prior news. Dai Xiang glanced at him and whispered, since the incident has already happened, it's no use holding anyone accountable now. I remember a while ago, a new person came to the action department. Mao Renfeng was stunned for a moment, without even thinking for a moment, as if he had remembered something, and then said, the bureau seat should be talking about the deputy captain of the second team of the action team, right? I remember he graduated from Qingpu class and has been working in the field. He only came to the headquarters last year. Dai Xiang immediately said, immediately investigate all the interpersonal relationships of this person and see if he has any interaction with Li Haifeng. Yes. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3 Meet Boss Dai. Order from the Chamber of Secrets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The news of Li Haifeng's defection quickly caused a stir within the Military Statistics Bureau. Most people don't understand why Li Haifeng chose to defect when he was in dire straits in the future. People who are familiar with the inside know that Li Haifeng wanted to stay alive and survive, but they are even more aware that his actions are at best delaying his death. As Li Haifeng defected and successfully arrived in Nanjing, on the second day of entering the Wang puppet government, the Military Statistics Bureau was once again shaken. In just one day, the Military Statistics Bureau lost hundreds of spies. Li Haifeng holds too many secrets of the Military Statistics Bureau in his hands. So, Dai Zhi was furious on the spot and issued a must-kill order. He even threatened to reward anyone who could kill Li Haifeng with 200,000 yuan in cash. Even if the Military Statistics Bureau cannot provide this money, Dai Zhi will still redeem the reward by smashing pots and selling iron. This makes it difficult for many middle and low-level spies in the Military Statistics Bureau to sit still. That's 200,000 yuan. During the 8 years of the anti-Japanese war, the intelligence agents of the Military Statistics Bureau did not live a prosperous life. Everyone tightened their belts to resist Japan, and the oil and water were all taken away by the higher-ups. The money that fell into the hands of the middle and lower-level intelligence agents was only a small amount, which was not enough to support them to eat, drink, and have fun. These military intelligence agents who spend their days trying to make money and have fun are in stark contrast to the 8th Route Army, which is fighting on the front line of the anti-Japanese war despite not having enough food and clothing. Brother Jean. Someone from Room A has arrived, please go meet Boss Dai. In the Military Statistics Operations Office, Chen Zhan's office, Yufei pushed the door in with a joyful expression on his face. For the secret agents of the Military Statistics Bureau, being able to meet Boss Dai is an unparalleled honor. Chen Zhan's eyes lit up, and a hint of just right excitement appeared on his face, which perfectly matched his persona of having no connections or background and being buried for many years. Chen Zhan stood up, straightened his clothes, and then walked out of the office with a big smile, following a spy waiting outside. Yufei wanted to keep up, but was stopped by the spy. This guy with a simple mind and well-developed limbs, who always followed Chen Zhan's lead, immediately grabbed his neck and reached out to touch his waist. What are you doing? I'm going to see the bureau, not to go to the battlefield. Chen Zhan gave Yufei a tearful and amused glare before leaving with the spy. Military Statistics Bureau, Division A. Dang 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 dang. Chen Zhan stood at the door, slightly bowing down, gently knocking on the office door, with a humble smile on his face. Come in. Dai Zhi's voice came from the office, and Chen Zhan straightened his collar. He quickly walked in, walked to his desk, and stood at attention, saying, Bureau seat. Dai Zhi, who was reviewing documents, slowly looked up, put down the document in his hand, and pointed at Chen Zhan with a smile, saying, Chen Zhan. I remember you. Students from Qingpu class. Chen Zhan had a flattered and surprised expression on his face, but secretly cursed the old fox in his heart. Although Dai Zhi has personally coached every spy training class, it is only 1 or 2 courses. With so many people in a training class, how could Dai Zhi, who works tirelessly, remember every student? Not to mention this small character who has been serving in the Military Statistics Bureau for 8 years but has remained unknown. I heard that before Li Haifeng defected, you had already had the members of the second action team go over and keep an eye on him. Did you hear any rumors? Dai Zhi didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the topic, his eyes like knives, staring closely at Chen Zhan. Chen Zhan looked at him with respect and honesty in his eyes, and said with a bitter smile, Bureau, if a student really hears any news, how can they hide it and not report it? To be honest with the Bureau, Li Haifeng used to be an old military statistician. Students wanted to connect with him and look for opportunities to show their skills, but accidentally discovered some of his suspicious behaviors. I originally suspected that Li Haifeng might be pro-communist, but there was no evidence, so I had to let the people under my command keep an eye on him. At this point, Chen Zhan's voice suddenly showed a hint of anger on his face, and he continued pounding his chest and feet, but I never thought this traitor would actually defect. Turn against the Japanese invaders. Dai Zhi looked at Chen Zhan and remained silent for a long time before revealing a smile. He got up, walked around his desk, patted his shoulder, and then said. Undoubtedly, it's from Qingpu class. What we need in our profession is your keen sense of smell. Speaking, Dai glanced casually at the documents on the table and then seemed to casually ask, I heard you and Li Haifeng don't have any intersection. Chen Zhan smiled bitterly and said, Li Haifeng used to be an old military statistician who fought alongside Dai Zhi. As a small person like me, I can only watch from a distance. Between the lines, Chen Zhan always carried a hint of emptiness, ambition, and ability, but he never felt the need for reuse. This is an idea shared by many military intelligence agents, but few dare to express it in front of Dai Zhi. But it was precisely because of this honesty that Dai Xiang, who was naturally suspicious, looked at Chen Zhan with a different eye. After thinking for a moment, Dai Xiang suddenly patted Chen Zhan's shoulder and said, Come with me. Chen Zhan pretended to be lost and followed Dai Xiang into a secret room. As the door of the room closed, the whole room became airtight. After entering the Chamber of Secrets, Dai Xiang turned his back to Chen Zhan and suddenly smiled, saying, Hitler, he always likes to give orders in the Chamber of Secrets because secrets are not breathable. Chen Zhan looked at Dai Xiang's back with a flash of light in his eyes, and respectfully said, Students must take off Li Haifeng's head on the neck. Dai Xiang raised his eyebrows and slowly turned to look at Chen Zhan. He squinted his eyes slightly and said, You're a smart person. You're only the deputy captain of the second action team. You're just a mediocre. Students are a brick of the party and the country. Wherever the bureau places students, they will play their role. Chen Zhan said grandly. Li Haifeng defected, and our military intelligence lost over 100 special agents. This person has to be removed. Dai Xiang raised his eyelids and said, I will arrange an identity for you to secretly infiltrate the Wang puppet government. Your code name is Crab's Crab. Contact the chief of the counterplot department, LV Zongfang, unilaterally, and he will report directly to me. There is no third party in between. The boss reached into his pocket, pulled out a train ticket, handed it to Chen Zhan, and continued, This is the train ticket to Nanjing. LV Zongfang will meet you on the train, and he will tell you the detailed task content. Students will fulfill their mission. Chen Zhan took the ticket and showed a perfectly excited expression on his face, as if he had finally found an opportunity to make a big move. Go ahead. Don't insult the reputation of Qingpu class. Dai Xiang smiled slightly, waved his hand, and issued an order to expel guests. Chen Zhan respectfully retreated and left the Chamber of Secrets. In the secret room, Dai Xiang watched as Chen Zhan left. He squinted his eyes slightly and murmured, It's a bit interesting. Qingpu class. I think they have some qualifications. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Arriving in Nanjing. Break into the puppet government of Wang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After leaving Dai Xiang's office, Chen Zhan didn't even go back to his own office. Instead, he left Luojiawan and headed towards the train station. He was well aware that before taking action, Dai Xiang would inevitably send spies to follow him, so Chen Zhan showed an eager desire to show his skills. That night, Chen Zhan boarded the train and successfully connected with LV Zongfang. Looking at LV Zongfang sitting across from him, Chen Zhan felt a bit helpless in his heart. He, who is familiar with the original plot, is well aware that although LV Zongfang appears to be the head of the military intelligence and counterplot department, he is actually an intelligence officer of our party like him. The two of them sat across from each other, but couldn't be honest with each other. This is not only for Chen Zhan's own safety considerations, but also for the safety of LV Zongfang. Chief LV, what is my task? Chen Zhan lowered his voice and looked around with the corner of his eye, while asking questions. LV Zongfang frowned and whispered, call me old LV. Chen Zhan showed a hint of apology and nodded. Only then did LV Zongfang's expression ease a bit, and he whispered. Next, I will tell you the detailed task content, please remember it carefully. After a pause in his words, LV Zongfang continued, remember, from now on, your name is Lao Wenqi, and you were the telecommunications supervisor who was stationed by the Wang puppet government in the 2nd Department of the Military Command's Intelligence Department. Due to the exposure of your identity, you had to withdraw from the mountain city to Nanjing. Zhou Fohai will arrange for you to enter the Telecommunications Department of the General Administration of Political Security. You have a chance to meet Li Haifeng there. Chen Zhan listened carefully, remembered every detail, and then asked, should I take action if there's a chance, or do I carry out an assassination? LV Zongfang shook his head and said, assassination is not your task. Your task is to understand Li Haifeng's activity patterns, and I will make other arrangements. Chen Zhan furrowed his brows slightly, and Dai Xiang conveyed orders to him in the secret room, which could not be as simple as inquiring about Li Haifeng's activity patterns. And at that time, in the secret room, Chen Zhan had said he would remove the head of Li Haifeng's neck, while Dai Xiang tacitly agreed. But now, LV Zongfang says his mission is not assassination, which seems to conflict with Dai Xiang's arrangement. Thinking back to the original plot, Yu Zicheng was supposed to be responsible for this task, and the task instructions she received were only to understand Li Haifeng's activity patterns. Is it because of his own appearance that led to the butterfly effect, or is LV Zongfang simply acting out of favor while our party has other arrangements? However, as soon as Chen Zhan thought about the original plot, after Yu Zicheng successfully assassinated Li Haifeng, it did not have much impact on our party. The assassination of Li Haifeng is something he must do, because Chen Zhan wants to rise to the top of the Military Statistics Bureau and obtain more intelligence from the Military Statistics Bureau, which will become a stepping stone for him. In Nanjing, Chen Zhan and LV Zongfang sat in a car, while the latter touched his pocket and thought for a moment, but then put down his hand. When LV Zongfang just received the mission to assassinate Li Haifeng, he was thinking of bringing Yu Zicheng, who had the hope of developing into his own person, to carry out the mission. But he didn't expect that Dai Xiang would parachute a person like Chen Zhan. The backup that was originally prepared for Yu Zicheng naturally became useless. If Chen Zhan were a true member of the Kuomintang, handing over that letter and token to him would inevitably lead to great calamity. Fortunately, although Yu Zicheng released those people from Zhengjiayan No. 50, the situation was suppressed by LV Zongfang, who wiped his buttocks clean and sent him out to carry out field missions, avoiding the investigation from above. When Yu Zicheng returns to the mountain city after this storm, comrades Walan will come into contact with him. A car will stop at the corner later, go straight ahead and don't say anything. Drive the front door and get in the car. LV Zongfang nodded towards the street corner ahead. Chen Zhan nodded and asked, is Zhou Fohai his own person? LV Zongfang said without hesitation, helping us with the Military Statistics Bureau is mainly to leave ourselves a way out. The traitors are most willing to serve the party and the country now. Chen Zhan smiled and said meaningfully, yeah. The Japanese invaders are almost finished. At this moment, a car suddenly stopped at a nearby street corner, and LV Zongfang whispered, here we go. Chen Zhan took a deep breath and glanced at LV Zongfang. He knew that after this meeting, it would probably be a farewell. According to the original plot, LV Zongfang would be exposed in Nanjing and shot in the street. But the problem is Chen Zhan did not know what LV Zongfang had gone through in this process, nor did he know the other party's mission, let alone communicate with him and expose his identity. In this way, Chen Zhan was unable to help LV Zongfang. This is the helplessness of the intelligence officers, who can only hide in the shadows and silently bless their comrades. After getting off the car, Chen Zhan didn't hesitate at all. He strode to the corner of the street, opened the passenger door, and calmly got on with a calm expression. As soon as he got into the passenger seat, Chen Zhan felt a chill in the back of his head and instinctively lowered his hand to his side. After 8 years of struggling in the Military Statistics Bureau, he naturally knows that he is now being held up by the muzzle of a gun. However, with a physique of 7.2 and many abilities nearby, Chen Zhan did not panic at all, but was always ready to retrieve his gun from the storage space. He was sure to dodge the gun in an instant, while breaking off the hand holding the gun and shooting everyone in the car as soon as possible. Raise your hands. A young man sitting in the driver's seat began to grope on Chen Zhan while speaking. Chen Zhan raised his hands cooperatively, but his muscles remained tense. He knew it was a routine body search, but at this time he was in the stronghold of the Wang puppet government and he dared not take it lightly. After confirming that Chen Zhan was not carrying any weapons, the young man in the driver's seat nodded at the two people behind him. One of the middle-aged people said, "Let's go." The gun at the back of his head was retracted, and Chen Zhan's expression remained calm. He slowly put down his hand, his right hand drooping again, slightly clenched, ready to draw the gun at any time. The reason why Chen Zhan was able to hide in the military statistics for 8 years, although closely related to the many capabilities provided by the system and his foresight as a navigator, is mainly because Chen Zhan always maintains vigilance. It may be exaggerated to say that he is sleeping with his eyes open, but even in his sleep, it is impossible for anyone to approach him silently. "Where are we going now?" After a moment, Chen Zhan suddenly asked. Zhou Fohai, sitting in the back seat, whispered, "There are some people you must know, and as for what to do in the future, it's up to you." Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Warning to LV Zongfang. Eliminate traitors. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. On the evening of his arrival in Nanjing, led by Zhou Fohai, Chen Zhan met with many high-level officials of the Wang puppet government, including Li Haifeng. At the dinner party, Chen Zhan did not pay too much attention to Li Haifeng and showed great humility, completely in line with the demeanor of a newcomer. The next morning, as LV Zongfang had said, Zhou Fohai arranged for Chen Zhan to be stationed at the telecommunications office of the General Administration of Political Security, which was opposite Li Haifeng's office. Under normal circumstances, if Chen Zhan wants to assassinate Li Haifeng, he must spend a certain amount of time understanding Li Haifeng's trajectory and activity patterns, and screen them one by one to find the most suitable time to start. But Lin Zhan didn't have that much trouble. He just remembered Li Haifeng's license plate number, followed him to his address, and after figuring out Li Haifeng's commuting time, it was enough. Taking advantage of the absence of anyone in the office, Chen Zhan picked up the phone and dialed a number. "Hello, are the stocks of Yong'an Textile Factory still delayed in delivery?" As soon as the phone was answered, Chen Zhan directly gave a secret signal. "Why not postpone today? Do you want to take action?" A moment later, the voice of LV Zongfang came from the other side. "Yes, I know a lot of arbitrage news, the sooner you act, the better." Lin Zhan told a lie. He didn't have all the rules about Li Haifeng's actions, but he had full confidence that he could successfully assassinate him. Even if there were accidents during the assassination process, Lin Zhan could still rely on his 7.2 physique and many abilities to forcefully kill Li Haifeng and withdraw. After a moment of silence on the other end of the phone, LV Zongfang said, "All right. I'll help you trade. Then, according to the old rules of the Joyful Club, you'll receive a 5-point bonus." "That's it then. Thank you." Chen Zhan looked at his watch and then hung up the phone. At 4:30 p.m. that afternoon, Chen Zhan arrived early at the Joyful Club bathhouse. 5 o'clock. Don't make a fuss. Chen Zhan knew that in the original plot, Zecheng arrived at 5 o'clock on time, but saw the scene where LV Zongfang was shot and killed by Ma Kuei in the street. How was LV Zongfang exposed? Chen Zhan didn't know. Perhaps it was because of the intelligence transmitted by the Buddha niche to the Military Statistics Bureau, or perhaps it was before this that Dai Zhi had already begun to suspect him. I'm afraid LV Zongfang had already noticed, otherwise he wouldn't have given the introduction letter and token to Zecheng in the original plot. No matter why LV Zongfang was exposed, or what special mission he was carrying out, even if there was only a glimmer of possibility, Chen Zhan would do his best to save the lives of every comrade. This is also the most secret mission he has undertaken in 8 years. At around 4.50, Chen Zhan finally saw a familiar figure on the street corner. He immediately looked around and confirmed that no one was paying attention to him before pressing down on his hat brim and briskly walking over. In the moment of passing by LV Zongfang, Chen Zhan bumped into his shoulder and stuffed a note into LV Zongfang's pocket. His figure flashed and disappeared at the street corner. LV Zongfang didn't even see Chen Zhan's figure clearly. He frowned and looked at his shoulder that had been hit, only to find that his suit pocket had been opened and inside lay a small white note. LV Zongfang's pupils shrank and after looking around, he hid in a corner. He spread out the note and saw a line of small characters on it. You have already been exposed, withdraw now. Upon seeing this line of small characters, LV Zongfang's face changed and he reached out to touch his waist, then lowered the brim of his hat and walked away quickly. Bang! At that moment, a gunshot suddenly rang out, and the bullet almost brushed past LV Zongfang's ear. Ma Kuei, who had been waiting for a long time, watched as LV Zongfang was about to run. How could he continue to hide? As a spy of the Military Statistics Bureau, Ma Kuei immediately understood that LV Zongfang had discovered something was wrong, but how did the intelligence leak out? The person who bumped into LV Zongfang. That person seems to be not tall and has a slightly chubby figure. He naturally didn't know that Chen Zhan had put on a loose pair of pants before coming, had been walking with his knees bent, and had put on 3 layers of clothing. Disguise is the most basic skill as a spy. With the sound of gunfire, the crowd on the street immediately became chaotic, while LV Zongfang quickly retreated into the crowd. Watching the assassination fail, Marquis could only reluctantly put down his gun and quickly left. On the other hand, Chen Zhan, who was hiding in the corner, witnessed all of this until he saw that LV Zongfang was out of danger, and then he breathed a slight sigh of relief. There's only so much he can do, as for whether LV Zongfang can safely leave Nanjing, Chen Zhan doesn't know. If we continue to escort LV Zongfang, Chen Zhan will inevitably arouse suspicion from others. As a crucial hidden chess piece planted within the Military Statistics Bureau by our party, Chen Zhan must not make any mistakes, nor should he take any risks of exposure to act without authorization. Silently leaving this street, Chen Zhan returned to his residence and lay in bed, closed his eyes and recuperated. Until it was completely dark, Chen Zhan suddenly opened his eyes, with a hint of cold killing intent flashing through them. Since LV Zongfang has been exposed, his broken kite no longer needs to seek approval from the higher authorities. Tonight is the deadline for Li Haifeng's death. The Japanese invaders who invade the country are certainly detestable, but those traitors who sell their country for glory are even more detestable. No matter what reason Li Haifeng defected, he already had a way to die. At this moment, ding. The new task has been released. Please check it yourself. The system prompt sound suddenly sounded in his ear. Chen Zhan raised his eyebrows, focused on his mind, and called out the system panel. At this point, under the Experience column, a Task column suddenly appeared, with only one lonely entry inside, Eliminating Traitors. Eradicate Li Haifeng. Task Reward. Makeup Art. Looking at this system task, Chen Zhan was not surprised. The system often releases some tasks at the right time, which mostly coincide with Chen Zhan's goals. Putting aside his thoughts, Chen Zhan slowly stood up, turned on the desk lamp, and then flipped directly out of the window. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Eliminating Traitors. Crab. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It has to be said that the Wang puppet government provided Li Haifeng with very generous treatment, with the highest standards of clothing, food, housing, and transportation. The estate where Li Haifeng lives is very large, but it is far from the city center. If placed in a peaceful and prosperous era, it is indeed a quiet residence. But now, the Military Statistics Bureau is constantly thinking about Li Haifeng's head. Even if the Wang puppet government sends spies to accompany and protect him, I'm afraid this guy can't sleep well, right? Arriving outside the manor, Chen Zhan did not enter. It was too troublesome to search through each room, and if Li Haifeng died in his sleep and was silently assassinated, who knew it was him who did it? Chen Zhan doesn't want to make wedding clothes for others. He wants to kill Li Haifeng and make a scene, but he cannot make too much noise to avoid exposing himself to the sight of the Wang puppet government. So tomorrow morning, Li Haifeng will leave the estate and start working on his way to work, which is undoubtedly the best choice. Chen Zhan was very patient. He hid behind a slope on the road not far from the manor, took out a box of hibiscus kings from the storage space, and directly lit one. While swallowing clouds and exhaling mist, he silently planned the layout for the successful assassination of Li Haifeng in his heart. As the moon set and the sun rose, and the day was completely bright, the sound of a car engine suddenly came from the estate. Chen Zhan's mind twitched, his right hand clenched weakly, and he suddenly had an extra Blanc M1911 in his hand. As for why not choose other weapons with stronger killing power in the storage space? On the one hand, it is because the slope where Chen Zhan is currently located is close to the road, and the range of the Browning M1911 is completely sufficient. On the other hand, it is because just dealing with a few Japanese puppet spies and one Li Haifeng, there is no need to overuse them. Chen Zhan has top-notch shooting skills, and the Browning M1911 is in his hands, with precision no less than a sniper rifle equipped with a high-power scope. As for power, Li Haifeng's car is not a bulletproof car. In such a short distance, handgun bullets can easily penetrate the car window. After a moment, a car slowly drove out of the estate, and Chen Zhan, with his enhanced vision, could see at a glance that there were 5 people in the car. There are 2 agents from the Wang puppet government sitting in the driver's seat and 1 in the passenger seat. In the back seat, there are also 2 agents guarding Li Haifeng in the middle. Chen Zhan withdrew his head and did not continue to observe. Instead, he relied on hearing enhancement to determine the position through the sound of the car engine. It wasn't until the car reached below the slope where he was, that he suddenly stood up and aimed for an instant, then pulled the trigger directly. Bang! The dull sound of gunfire rang out, and the bullet came out of the barrel and directly pierced through the window of the driver's seat of the car. Zhi! With a piercing brake sound, the car on the road below came to a stop. In the car, the spy who was originally driving the car collapsed and had an extra blood hole on his temple. One shot to death. Sitting in the back seat, Li Haifeng was immediately shocked and lowered his head. At the same time, he panicked and shouted, "Quick! Go drive!" The 2 spies beside him also reacted slowly, both bowing their heads. The spy and the co-pilot did not hesitate at all, reaching out to pull the driver's car door and trying to push the body of the driver down. But at this moment, bang! There was another gunshot, and the spy fell in response, with the bullet hitting his forehead. In the back seat, Li Haifeng and 2 spies buried their heads lower. 2 shots in a row, both fatal in one blow, clearly indicating that the opponent is a skilled marksman. At this moment, if he raises his head, wouldn't he become a target of others? As for protecting Li Haifeng, don't make a fuss, they are now in dire straits, so why bother with others? Bang! Bang! At this moment, there were 2 more gunshots, 2 bullets piercing through the rear seat window at extremely tricky angles, hitting the vests and heads of 2 agents respectively. Blood shot out and splattered across Li Haifeng's face. Looking at the piercing eyes of the 2 spies, a hint of fear couldn't help but rise in his heart. It's over. Li Haifeng's heart was as dead as ashes, he knew that he was probably doomed today. He had long anticipated that he would have such a day, but he never expected that it would come so quickly. How long has it been since then? From his defection in the mountain city to now, it has taken him 5 or 6 days at most. Drag. Li Haifeng made up his mind that he could not get off the car under any circumstances. The gunfire here must have caught the attention of other spies in the estate. Those people were sent by the Wang puppet government to protect his family, but they were actually monitoring and controlling Li Haifeng and his family. As long as I can drag those spies over, I may still have a glimmer of hope. Duh. At this moment, a series of footsteps suddenly sounded from the side of the car, and Li Haifeng's pupils slightly narrowed. He knew it was the sound of leather shoes stepping on the ground. At this moment, Chen Zhan had already put away the Browning M1911, constantly playing with a dagger in his hand. He leaned his head towards the back seat and sat by the window, smiling at Li Haifeng inside the car. "It's you." Li Haifeng instantly recognized Chen Zhan and cursed himself for being careless. Just as he defected in the front, a hidden member of the Wang puppet government was exposed in the back, and he also withdrew from the mountain city back to Nanjing. How could there be such a coincidence? At this moment, Chen Zhan gently opened the car door, and Li Haifeng's eyes froze. He noticed that Chen Zhan was not holding a gun, and a glimmer of hope suddenly rose in his heart. "Are you alone?" As Li Haifeng spoke, he gradually moved his hand towards his waist. Chen Zhan nodded, reached into his pocket, and slowly pulled out a piece of white cloth. "Are you a crab?" Li Haifeng clearly knew some internal intelligence of the Military Statistics Bureau and also knew that the Bureau had sent a spy codenamed Crab to assassinate him. "Is it from Chongqing or Yan'an?" Li Haifeng slowly lifted his hem with his hand behind his back. "Anti-Japanese." Chen Zhan finally spoke up, and Li Haifeng seemed to accept his fate. He chuckled self-deprecatingly and said, "Sooner or later." But before he could finish speaking, his right hand suddenly grabbed the handle of the gun at his waist, and without hesitation, he pulled the gun out. Puff. But the next moment, Li Haifeng's movements suddenly froze. The hand holding the gun was powerless to hang down. Li Haifeng slowly lowered his head and looked at the dagger inserted into his heart. Blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth, and his eyes quickly filled with unwillingness and despair, falling onto the back seat of the car. Chen Zhan remained expressionless and threw out the white cloth, then turned around and ran towards the pre-planned retreat route. The white cloth slowly drifted down on Li Haifeng's body, with 3 blood-red characters prominently written on it eliminating traitors. Crab. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Withdraw the Mountain City. Dai Zhi's shock. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding. Congratulations to the host. Complete the task. Eradicate traitors. Task reward. Makeup art. Listening to the system prompt sound in his mind, Chen Zhan's footsteps did not stop at all. With the support of his 7.2 physique, his speed was extremely fast. After returning to the city, he first went home to take his briefcase, and then went to work at the General Administration of Political Security as if nothing had happened. Soon, the assassination of Li Haifeng caused a stir within the Wang puppet government. Li Haifeng, who was so valued by the Wang puppet government, was still assassinated in Nanjing under their noses. The most important thing is that after the successful assassination, the killer left behind provocative and bloody characters, which is like hitting their face. So, the Wang puppet government immediately blocked Nanjing and began to carefully investigate. At the same time, they also understand that the military intelligence agent with the code name Crab must still be hidden within them. That night, after Chen Zhan finished work, he directly bought a train ticket to Shanqing. He knew that if he continued to stay, it would be like playing a clear card with the Wang puppet government. The Military Statistics Bureau is not an ironclad entity. The Wang puppet government can know the existence of the crab, and as long as they have the intention to investigate, the identity arranged by the Military Statistics Bureau can easily identify the flaws. Chen Zhan does not want to continue to entangle with the Wang puppet government here. Sooner or later, the Japanese and traitors will be doomed, and in the near future, there will be a competition between the Kuomintang and the Communist Party. He can only help the organization to the greatest extent by returning to the mountain city and continuously climbing upwards within the Military Statistics Bureau, leveraging the merits of assassinating Li Haifeng. And there is another reason why Qin Station withdrew so decisively, that is, the stationmaster of the Military Statistics Bureau at Nanjing Station will soon find him and arrange for him to continue lurking, helping the stationmaster of Nanjing Station to contact Chongqing and negotiate with the Japanese army to retrieve the confiscated military supplies of the Kuomintang from the puppet government of Wang. Speaking of negotiation, it is essentially just a transaction where everyone takes what they need. Chen Zhan is not interested in continuing to stay in Nanjing and entangle with the Wang puppet government for the benefit of some high-level members of the Kuomintang. LV Zongfang is a Communist Party member and has been exposed, so Chen Zhan did not go online. Before the Nanjing Station webmaster found him, he can fully act independently. Even if he withdrew directly from the mountain city, no one could find fault with it. As for why did he openly leave that white cloth behind? That's naturally for seeking credit. Why not evacuate as soon as the assassination is successful? At that time, the entire city must have been locked down, and all incoming and outgoing personnel would undergo careful screening. But now it's different. The Wang puppet government is busy with self-inspection, and he can easily use his identity in the Wang puppet government to successfully board the car under the guise of investigation. Chen Zhan had already calculated everything and naturally boarded the train. Just as the Wang puppet government was in a state of anxiety due to the death of Li Haifeng, with the train slowly moving, Chen Zhan, the culprit, had quietly left Nanjing. Shanqing, Military Statistics Bureau, Office A. Dang 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 dang. Upon hearing a knock on the door, Dai Zhi, who was watching the documents, slowly looked up and whispered, "Come in." Chen Zhan straightened his collar at the door, then held his head and chest high, strode into the office, walked to the front of his desk, straightened his waist, and loudly said, "Bureau seat." Dai Xiang was startled by the angry voice and his eyes widened slightly. He was about to look up and scold, but suddenly realized that the person coming was Chen Zhan and froze. "You! How did you come back?" Dai Xiang didn't react. Didn't he send this guy to assassinate Li Haifeng? He just received news that Li Haifeng has been successfully assassinated, and the killer left a cloth strip with blood written on his body, confirming that it was done by Crab. After receiving the message, Dai Xiang immediately gave an order to the Nanjing station to connect with Crab and assign a new task. "But I only gave the order yesterday, why did this guy come back today?" Chen Zhan's face showed a perfect hint of confusion, and he asked, "Bureau, haven't you received any news yet?" Immediately after, Chen Zhan widened his eyes and muttered in a somewhat resentful tone, "What do those guys at Nanjing Station eat? You don't even know about such a big thing." Now it was Dai Xiang's turn to be a bit confused. He frowned and waved his hand, interrupting Chen Zhan's words before asking, "What exactly happened?" Chen Zhan, on the other hand, showed even more anger and said with a heart-wrenching expression, "Bureau seat. That LV Zongfang is actually a spy of the Communist Party. After being exposed, he fled in fear of guilt. I had no contact person in Nanjing, so I took the initiative, killed Li Haifeng, and then withdrew overnight." At this point, Chen Zhan paused and asked somewhat puzzled, "LV Zongfang was shot in the street by someone. It should be our people who did it. Don't you know, Bureau seat? I know about LV Zongfang's situation, but the people at Nanjing Station haven't contacted you." Dai Xiang frowned. "No." Chen Zhan looked bewildered. Upon hearing what he said, Dai Xiang finally sorted out the details and cursed inwardly that those guys at Nanjing station were not agile enough. It seems that Chen Zhan retreated immediately without any contact after successfully assassinating Li Haifeng, and the people at Nanjing station did not contact him. Bureau seat, I. Chen Zhan was about to say something more, but was interrupted by Dai Xiang raising his hand. After pondering for a moment, Dai Xiang finally revealed a smile and got up, bypassing his desk to approach Chen Zhan. He patted his shoulder and said, "Your mission has been successfully completed. You are a hero of the Military Statistics Bureau. I will pay tribute to the chairman. Don't think about the situation in Nanjing, I have other arrangements. You should go back to the action center first." A hint of surprise flashed in Chen Zhan's eyes, and then with a hint of excitement and doubt, he left the office under Dai Xiang's watchful eye. Looking at Chen Zhan's back, Dai Xiang squinted his eyes. With a suspicious nature, he smelled an unusual smell in this incident. But he couldn't find any doubts about Chen Zhan, and couldn't help but think of LV Zongfang in his mind. Is it that guy's deliberate arrangement to make himself suspicious of Chen Zhan? Thinking of LV Zongfang, Dai Xiang sat back in the chair and rubbed his forehead, his face a bit gloomy. The head of the counterplot department of the Tang Tang Military Statistics Bureau was actually instigated by the Communist Party. This incident has a bit of black humor and is also a slap in the face of their Military Statistics Bureau. Fortunately, Chen Zhan assassinated Li Haifeng, suppressing the turmoil caused by LV Zongfang. Wait. At this moment, Dai Xiang suddenly widened his eyes and finally came up with a crucial question: how long did it take from Li Haifeng's defection to Chen Zhan's completion of the assassination? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Military Statistics Bureau Shock. Su Baichuan's Love Talent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 5 days. 6 days. If we exclude the time delayed by Chen Zhan on the first circuit, at most it will only be 3 days. That is to say, after Chen Zhan infiltrated the Wang puppet government, it only took him 3 days to understand Li Haifeng's activity patterns, successfully assassinate him, and then retreat completely. This. Dai Xiang's heart stirred up a storm, and even if he looked at the entire Military Statistics Bureau, besides Lao Lu, he probably couldn't find a second person with such efficiency. With this thought in mind, Dai Xiang's face showed a smile as he felt he had discovered a talent. After a few brief encounters, Dai Xiang found that Chen Zhan was very smooth in his speech and actions. And through the assassination of Li Haifeng, it has been proven that he possesses outstanding personal abilities, but has never been valued. This made Dai Xiang look at Chen Zhan with new eyes. In his view, the group of students who graduated from Qingpu class were all elites among the elites, and this Chen Zhan can even be called the ace among elites. Although Dai Xiang was unable to successfully eliminate LV Zongfang and suspected that someone inside had leaked intelligence, he did not suspect Chen Zhan. On the one hand, it is because as Chen Zhan in the Confidentiality Bureau, he has no access to intelligence at this level. On the other hand, if Chen Zhan is a member of the Communist Party, why did he withdraw immediately after successfully assassinating Li Haifeng? Without the liaison of LV Zongfang, Chen Zhan would be like a broken kite, detached from the surveillance of the Military Statistics Bureau, and could have taken advantage of this gap to do many things. However, Chen Zhan chose to evacuate as soon as possible, which completely dispelled Dai Xiang's doubts in his heart. This is a smooth, greedy and afraid of death, but possesses excellent abilities and is loyal to the party and the country. This is Dai Xiang's evaluation of Chen Zhan in his heart. Action Department, Director's Office. The soft and gentle sound of music came from the gramophone. A middle-aged man wearing military uniform, with handsome features and a slight stubble on his face, was leaning against the table, playing with a lighter in his hand. A pair of printed leather shoes gently tapped along with the rhythm of the music. Lao Lu, what do you think of Chen Zhan? Across from him, a slightly older middle-aged man spoke softly. He didn't have an amazing appearance, but his figure was slightly overweight, but he had a calm and confident demeanor. If any spy from the Military Statistics Bureau were present at this moment, they would definitely be able to recognize the two at a glance. The one leaning against the table is undoubtedly the sixth of the 8 kings of military statistics, Zheng Yaoxian, the sixth brother of military statistics. Also notorious among the Communist Party in the Japanese puppet regime, Gizi 6. The speaker is Su Baichuan, the fourth brother of the military statistics 8 great kings and also the director of the operations department of the military statistics headquarters. As one of the 8 branches of the Military Statistics Bureau and the only department that does practical work, the position of Director of the Operations Department in the Military Statistics Bureau can be said to be below 1 person and above 10,000 people. A bit clever and skilled, only serving as the deputy captain of the second team of the action team, I'm just a mediocre talent. Zheng Yaoxian smiled, although he said so, his expression was casual. That depends on who you compare to. Compared to your old 6, he's still a bit tender. As Su Baichuan spoke, he walked to the table, picked up a bottle of foreign wine, poured it into 2 tall glasses, and continued. He successfully assassinated Li Haifeng in just 3 days' time in Nanjing and retreated completely. I heard that when killing Li Haifeng, he only used a dagger. Now, the brothers below are almost passing on this Chen Zhan as an immortal. Zheng Yaoxian understood Su Baichuan's meaning, raised his eyebrows, and asked with a smile, did you have a love for talent after hearing fourth brother's words? After a pause, Zheng Yao put away his lighter before continuing, Chen Zhan is from your operations department. It's not up to you, the director, to transfer him to your side. Su Baichuan shook his head with a bitter smile, put down the bottle, handed a glass of wine to Zheng Yaoxian, and said, I do have this idea. Chen Zhan came from the Qingpu class, and his qualifications and abilities are unknown. Moreover, he has no family or faction, and his foundation is clean. Over time, he may not be inferior to Shaoan and Jian, but the problem is. Zheng Yaoxian squinted his eyes and took over the conversation, saying, but the problem is that during the Nanjing operation, Chen Zhan directly obeyed Boss Dai. Is fourth brother afraid of wooing Chen Zhan and making Boss Dai unhappy? Su Baichuan sighed and nodded, the bureau asked us to go to his house for dinner tonight, and even called Mao Renfeng and Chen Zhan. This clearly shows that we are holding a celebration banquet. I have never seen Boss Dai attach such importance to any young student. Zheng Yaoxian gently shook his glass and looked out the window, whispering, when the boat reaches the bridge, it will naturally straighten out. We also happen to take this opportunity to see Mr. Dai's attitude. As the words fell, Zheng Yao first raised his glass, Su Baichuan raised his glass and touched him, and then the two drank in one gulp. Soon, the news of Li Haifeng's successful assassination caused a huge uproar within the Military Statistics Bureau. Under the heavy protection of the Wang puppet government, in Nanjing, the headquarters of the Wang puppet government, the people of the Military Statistics Bureau successfully assassinated Li Haifeng in such a short period of time. Whose pen is this? Many people from the Military Statistics Bureau have raised this doubt, and even people from the Central Statistics Bureau have started to gather information. Having such means is definitely a rare talent. In the Military Statistics Bureau, there are not many people like Zheng Yaoxian and Su Baichuan who have the same level of insight and are able to learn the news as soon as Chen Zhan returns, and even inquire about the specific details of the Nanjing operation. With Chen Zhan's return, the identity of the crab naturally lost its significance of continuing to be kept confidential. Mao Renfeng found out from Boss Dai, and the news quickly spread within the Military Statistics Bureau. Military Statistics Operations Department, Deputy Captain of the 2nd Operations Team. Chen Zhan. Except for some members of the Action Department, many people find this name somewhat unfamiliar. After all, during Chen Zhan's 8 years of hiding in the Military Statistics Bureau, he spent most of his time working in the field. After returning to the headquarters, I have been guarding 1 acre and 3 fen of the operation team's land and have not done anything remarkable. However, some students who graduated from the Qingpu class at the same time suddenly remembered this name buried deep in their memory. After the people from the Military Statistics Bureau found out the details of Chen Zhan, they suddenly realized that he was an elite graduate from the Qingpu class and had been working inside the Military Statistics Bureau for 8 years. In this way, with such ability, it is not so difficult to accept. After all, being able to graduate from Qingpu class and not making any mistakes in 8 years, without any background or support, Chen Zhan achieved the position of deputy captain of the action team through his own abilities, which is enough to prove his impressive abilities. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Gu Yufei's Door. Dog Skin Ointment, Master Qi. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At the Action Center, Chen Zhan sat in the office, leaning back on a chair with his eyes closed and constantly reminiscing about the entire process of the Nanjing operation. This is his habit. Whether it is carrying out tasks assigned to him by the Military Statistics Bureau or completing assignments from our party's superiors, he will constantly review the overall situation in his mind, looking for any mistakes he may have made during the task process to avoid recurrence. During his trip to Nanjing, Chen Zhan made everything seamless. If he insists on making any mistakes, perhaps only by making decisions without authorization and taking on certain risks of exposure, can we remind LV Zongfang? As a special agent, the most taboo thing is to be emotional. However, even if there is a chance to help, Chen Zhan cannot accept watching his comrades die in front of him. At this point in his mind, Chen Zhan suddenly felt a bit lost, and he couldn't help but think of Kites. The intelligence officer of our party who has been in the military statistics for many years and has already held a high position, becoming Dai Zhi's confidant. That is one of the only 2 remaining members of the 8 great kings of military statistics today, Zheng Yaoxian. Unlike himself, Zheng Yaoxian had no systematic assistance or prior knowledge, but he had been lurking in the Military Statistics Bureau for a full 18 years. In his undercover career, Zheng Yaoxian experienced too many life and death separations, and under various unavoidable circumstances, he indirectly or directly sent away comrades. Those who have not personally experienced this process may not be able to appreciate the pain and struggle in Zheng Yaoxian's heart. Dang 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 dang. At that moment, the sound of leather boots stepping on the ground suddenly came to Chen Zhan's senses, and he saw a beautiful woman with delicate features and a heroic aura between her eyebrows, who had already walked across from the desk. Chen Zhan frowned and cursed inwardly that he had just lost his mind. As an intelligence officer lurking within the Military Statistics Bureau, this is a big taboo. Looking at the tall woman in front of him, dressed in military uniform and perfectly accentuating his hot figure, Chen Zhan was about to speak when a burst of hurried footsteps suddenly came from outside, and Yufei stumbled in. Brother Zhan. Miss Gu insists on coming in, brothers can't stop her. Yufei smiled bitterly, while Chen Zhan waved his hand, indicating that it was okay. After Yufei left, the woman showed a stunning smile and sat diagonally on the desk, leaning forward slightly. She looked down at Chen Zhan behind the desk and pursed her lips, saying, "Having made contributions is different. Now it's not easy to meet our hero Chen." Chen Zhan smiled and said, "Yufei, you know, when I come back, some guys come over to smell it. If I talk to everyone for a while, wouldn't this office become a tea party?" At this point, Chen Zhan paused for a moment, then slammed heavily. The table looked at the door and pretended to be angry, shouting, "These little brats. It's just someone else blocking them. Don't you know my relationship with Yufei? The woman in front of me is none other than the cousin of Qi Gongzi, the captain of the operations department's first team, and also the head of the telecommunications department Gu Yufei." Upon hearing Chen Zhan's words, Gu Yufei raised her eyebrows and eyes, smiled and said, "Captain Chen, what is our relationship? Chen Zhan laughed and then pretended to be serious, saying, Yufei, if Captain Zhao hears your words, he will be unhappy. It would be more appropriate to call me Deputy Captain Chen. Seeing Chen Zhan and herself practicing Tai Chi, Gu Yufei rolled her eyes in frustration and joked, your Nanjing delegation has made great contributions. I'm afraid removing this subtitle will only happen sooner or later. Chen Zhan smiled but remained silent. He naturally knew that Gu Yufei was different from others. This woman came to him today not to see him gain power and build relationships. When he was in Qingpu class, Chen Zhan, Gu Yufei, and her cousin Qi Gongzi were classmates. With outstanding temperament and appearance, Gu Yufei quickly became the sought-after object of male students in the Qingpu class. Later, Gu Yufei came to the headquarters of the Military Statistics Bureau and became the head of the telecommunications department. Chen Zhan, on the other hand, had no background and worked in the field for several years. However, he eventually managed to come to the headquarters after wandering around. Chen Zhan's appearance can also be described as imposing, and with a clear understanding of Gu Yufei's background, he had no resistance to her, so he gradually began to look at her. Chen Zhan was very clear about Gu Yufei's ideas, but he wanted to gather his own network within the Military Statistics Bureau and then use his interpersonal relationships to gather intelligence. If this woman is showing her true feelings, even if she kills Chen Zhan, she won't believe it. At best, she has some feelings for him. At this moment, a loud noise suddenly came from outside the door, followed by a roar. Get out of the way. Chen Zhan is so imposing. He even forgot his family rules after making contributions. He's a captain, how dare you stop me, Major. Upon hearing the commotion outside, Chen Zhan rubbed his brow with a headache, and Gu Yufei's face also showed a hint of helplessness, smiling apologetically at him. Go ahead. Tell your cousin, this place is not the Jiazi Cave or the White Mansion, and I won't eat you. You don't have to be so nervous every time. Chen Zhan's words contain needles, with a hint of sarcasm in his words. The two of them naturally recognized that the owner of the sound outside was undoubtedly Mr. Qi, the captain of the first action team of the operations department. That's Gu Yufei's cousin, and he's also Chen Zhan's archenemy when they were in Qingpu class. Although they didn't have much friendship, on the surface, they were still able to get by. Later, everyone arrived at the headquarters of the Military Statistics Bureau, and as Gu Yufei and Chen Zhan began to flirt, Prince Qi became increasingly displeased with Chen Zhan. In addition, Gu Yufei runs towards Chen Zhan every 2 days, and Qi Gongzi is even more resentful. His hostility towards Chen Zhan even surpasses his disgust towards the military intelligence shop assistant. Although Chen Zhan has no family or faction, and there is no background to support him, over the years, he has not made any mistakes, which has left Qi Gongzi unable to grasp the blame and can only be stared at. So, this young Master Qi was like a piece of dog skin ointment. Every time Gu Yufei came to find Chen Zhan, this guy would rush over in a very short time, as if afraid that Gu Yufei would take advantage of him. I heard that a new Western restaurant has opened across from the White Dragon Pool. I wonder if Captain Chen is available after work. Gu Yufei glanced at the door, but did not rush to leave. Instead, she looked at Chen Zhan with flowing water in her beautiful eyes. Ringing bells. Chen Zhan was about to speak when the phone on his desk suddenly rang. Gu Yufei made a gesture of invitation and took 2 steps back. As soon as Chen Zhan answered the phone, the relaxed expression on his face disappeared in an instant. He stood up and respectfully said, "Bureau seat." Upon hearing his words, Gu Yufei's eyes froze. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. Attending banquets at Dai Mansion. The vicious Chen Zhan. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Going to your house for dinner. Isn't this too suitable? Yes. Students must attend the banquet on time. Watching Chen Zhan put down the phone, Gu Yufei's eyes flashed with a flash of light. Although she didn't hear what was said on the phone, from Chen Zhan's performance, it was obvious that it was a call from Dai Xiang. And it seems Dai Xiang is inviting Chen Zhan to the mansion for a meal. Be good, this kind of thing has never happened before in the Military Statistics Bureau, has it? Only the heads of various departments are qualified to receive Dai Xiang's invitation to dine with him at home, but I have never heard of a captain at the level of deputy captain of the action team receiving such treatment. Yufei, it seems that I can't have dinner with you anymore. Why don't we reschedule? Chen Zhan said with a smile, and the last two words deliberately accentuated his tone. Gu Yufei naturally couldn't understand his verbal teasing, so she could only regretfully spread out her hand and said, "Then I won't disturb Captain Chen." As she spoke, she also showed a somewhat headache-like expression and pointed outside. After seeing Chen Zhan nod, she quickly walked out of the office. As the noise outside quickly subsided, Chen Zhan's smile slowly disappeared and he narrowed his eyes slightly. Why did Dai Xiang suddenly invite him to dinner? Chen Zhan naturally understood that this was a celebration banquet, but even if the impact of Li Haifeng's defection was significant, Dai Xiang wouldn't have personally hosted the celebration banquet for him, would he? The most important thing is that the venue for this celebration banquet was chosen at Dai Mansion, which is somewhat intriguing. I couldn't figure it out, so I stopped thinking. As the number one figure in the actual sense of the Military Statistics Bureau, I'm afraid few people in this world can guess Dai Xiang's thoughts. When the soldiers come to block, the water comes to cover the earth. It's time to take action. Brother Zhan. In the afternoon, Shen Fei walked quickly into Chen Zhan's office. Just as he was about to speak, he saw Chen Zhan frown and then shrink his neck before retreating. Standing at the door, Shen Fei knocked and peeked at Chen Zhan behind his desk. If you have any fart, let it go. Chen Zhan rolled his eyes and threw a cigarette in frustration. Shen Fei took the cigarette with a playful smile and said with a happy expression, Brother Zhan. Boss Dai invited you to the mansion for dinner. How could you still hold your composure? Upon hearing Shen Fei's words, Chen Zhan lowered his head and glanced at the watch on his wrist, then slowly stood up and said. It's almost time, let's prepare the car. Shen Fei smiled and said, Brother Zhan, the car has already parked outside. Shen Fei's appearance was as if he had been personally invited by Dai Xiang to eat at home. For every spy of the Military Statistics Bureau, being able to eat at the same table as Boss Dai is a great honor. Chen Zhan walked outside without saying a word, but suddenly stopped and looked down at his clothes before asking, Do I need to change clothes? That look was as if he was flattered and lost his own opinion. Brother Zhan looks impressive. When he changes into new clothes, isn't he stealing the attention of Boss Dai? Shen Fei flattered with a smile on his face. It makes sense. Chen Zhan burst out laughing, patted Shen Fei's shoulder, and then turned around and walked out of the office. As soon as Chen Zhan stepped out of the action area, he collided with a familiar figure, but he remained steadfast and continued walking towards the outside. Stop! With a somewhat arrogant voice, suddenly came from behind, and Chen Zhan rolled his eyes. He knew that this dog skin ointment would not miss any opportunity to suppress himself. You should know that he has just made great contributions, and Dai Xiang personally hosted a banquet at the Dai Mansion in the Shenxian Cave. This news has now spread throughout the entire Military Statistics Bureau. Everyone knows that Chen Zhan is now a popular figure in the eyes of Boss Dai. After tonight, his position in the Military Statistics Bureau is bound to further advance, at least to be promoted to major. Slowly turning his head and looking at Prince Qi behind him, Chen Zhan pretended to be puzzled and smiled, asking, What advice does Captain Qi have? That person is undoubtedly the captain of the first action team, Mr. Qi. I can't talk about giving advice. Our hero Chen has just made great contributions. He's in a hurry to go to the Dai Mansion for a banquet, forgetting even the most basic rules. Qi Gongzi looked up slightly and put on a condescending posture, with a hint of undisguised disgust and contempt in his eyes. Even though Chen Zhan had made great contributions, Qi Gongzi still sneered at him. The two of them have been fighting openly and secretly for so many years. When they were in the Qingpu class, Prince Qi saw that Chen Zhan's ability was not bad. For so many years, Chen Zhan has always been guarding this 1 acre and 3/10 of land of the action team. Although he is not at fault, he has not made any significant contributions. Although Qi Gongzi looks down on Chen Zhan, he cannot deny that Chen Zhan's ability is by no means weaker than his own. Such a person, even if he has no background or support, cannot remain unknown all along, can he? The reason for this is probably only one explanation, that's because during the war of resistance against Japan, this guy didn't want to be a leader and kept his guard low. Now, seeing the war about to win, he wanted to take this opportunity to make a military contribution and soar to fame. People with such ideas are everywhere in the Military Statistics Bureau, and Chen Zhan is just one of them with outstanding means and abilities. This is also the most despised thing for Prince Qi. Putting the party and the country first in his heart, faith is above all else. In the eyes of Prince Qi, both the detestable eunuch Xu Zhongyi of the Military Statistics Bureau and the Chen Zhan in front of him have a commonality, that is profit-oriented and likes to engage in speculative activities. Captain Qi. This is my last salute to you. Chen Zhan squinted his eyes, with an undisguised coldness in his eyes. After standing at attention and paying his respects, he turned around and walked away. At this moment it was time to finish work, and many people who came and went saw this scene, all looking at Mr. Qi with strange expressions. Everyone knows about the holidays between Chen Zhan and Qi Gongzi. Usually, Qi Gongzi also uses his official position to create difficulties everywhere. But now Chen Zhan is just like the sun in the sky. How dare Qi Gongzi take the initiative to offend him? Am I not making myself uncomfortable? And Chen Zhan's recent performance has also raised a hint of fear in many people's hearts. Prior to this, Chen Zhan had always shown harmless behavior towards humans and animals, not showing signs of mountain or water leakage, but now it seems this is also a malicious character. Just now, with that fierce and cunning demeanor, there was a bit of a petty and ambitious attitude. After tonight, when dealing with this Chen Zhan again, you must be careful. The Shenxian Cave Dai Mansion is the most mysterious place in the entire mountain city. Even the high-ranking military officials who frequently visit this place do not know how many secrets are hidden in Boss Dai's residence. After arriving here, Chen Zhanyuan asked his subordinates to stop and walk into the Dai Mansion. After undergoing a routine body search, he was finally introduced into the door. Just say, "Chow chow. Our hero is here." As soon as I entered the door, a smiling face greeted me. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.